Hi, my name is Laura Beth Adams. This is John Adams, and we're going to be conducting our 10-question interview today.
I'm ready.
So, and we'll also be going on the record now. So, first question, what does a workday typically look like for you?
I usually report to work by 8 o'clock. I work downtown in one of the governmental buildings. I serve as the Assistant Commissioner of the Office of Conservation. The Office of Conservation regulates the oil and gas industry for the state of Louisiana. We have 165 employees, and I manage those employees through 5 division managers. I generally start out each day reviewing all of my emails and things that have been delivered since I left work the day before. I try to address as many of those as I can before the meetings start. I always have a couple of meetings during the day, and they could range from anything from upcoming legislation to the office budget to staffing or just various different problems that arise that have to be dealt with. Every day is different. Every day is an adventure. We don't like adventures. We would prefer that everything stays very, very boring.
I don't blame you. So, quick question. Currently, with COVID, are y'all completely in the office?
No. The governor has mandated that people that can work remotely should try to do so. Some people work 2 days a week in the office. Mm-hmm. Some people work 3 days a week in the office. People that don't have the ability to work remotely, they're required to work 5 days a week in the office. Gotcha. My biggest pet peeve about all that is anytime someone says, I'll get to that tomorrow when they're working remotely, because that's an unacceptable answer. Yeah. If you cannot do your job remotely, then you need to be in the office.
Yeah. And so what skills do you use most in your current position?
Problem-solving skills, probably. Virtually everything that comes across my desk is a question that needs an answer or a situation that needs a solution. So we just try to figure out what the best possible solution is and implement it.
Okay. And what are your strengths?
My strengths are thinking outside of the box and solving problems. I'm actually a very good problem solver, and I can relate to people on any level. Yeah. From the highest executive individual to the lowest man working with his tools, and mainly because I've done all those things.
Yeah.
So it makes
it makes you more personable. It makes you more relatable.
It does, and I'm comfortable dealing with people of any work situation or status.
To kind of pivot from that, would you say there's any skills that you've developed a lot more in your current position?
Yeah, most of those skills, I don't think they would be personal, though. They would be more educational, like, for example...
Yeah, technical kind of...
Learning how to implement, how to plan and implement budgets, or how to anticipate and work with legislation, preparing legislation that will have some sort of effect on the regulatory operations of our office. Yeah. Things of that nature.
Okay. And then how would you describe your work ethic? Could you give us an example?
I believe I have a very high work ethic. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. I guess I view myself, and I think others view me, as a leadership model person, as opposed to a boss model person. Yeah. A boss is someone who goes in and barks orders and gives people jobs to do. A leader is someone who goes in and works alongside people and shows them how and what to do, and
kind of touching back on both the personality and the problem-solving aspects.
yes, yeah. So uh, I think, and an example of my work ethic is uh, punctuality is key above all.
Mm-hmm.
You don't miss any time that you don't absolutely have to miss. Uh, Punctuality, in my mind, is also a sign of respect. If you can't respect someone enough to show up on time to uh, do whatever function it was that you had agreed to and put on the calendar, well, then you're not being respectful of their time. So
I agree with you. In all my group projects this semester, the number one rule we've had is be respectful of other people's time.
I think that's a very wise position.
So, what technical skills have you improved during your time in your current position? Could you give me an example? So we kind of touched on that already with the DNR stuff.
Yeah, we sort of did.
Do you have any examples?
Well, preparing budgets is something that I've never really had to do before. As a result of that, I use a lot of spreadsheets, which is spreadsheet programs, which is something that I haven't had occasion to use a great deal in the last 20 years. So I've had to increase I've had to go back and relearn how to use spreadsheets properly.
Like Excel and all that.
Exactly. Including learning how to build formulas into them and things like that, which it's more than just being able to open it and read down the list.
And then on top of that, there's like a billion ways to do one thing, so it's
yes,
always learning.
That's a good point. We use a lot of different software packages, so there's sort of an ongoing. You have to constantly keep learning new computer-aided data management and tools to help with that. And since they are constantly developing, you're always having to relearn the new things that you can do with it and the new data that it'll provide and things like that.
Yeah. And then, how do you deal with workplace disputes? Okay, so real quick, let's backtrack a little bit. So you look over different people. You look over, you said 165?
Well, the entire staff of the office, including myself, is 165 people. There's the commissioner is above me. I don't manage him, so I only am responsible for 163 people.
Yeah.
So,
but so you're over those people. So you probably have to deal with some sort of dispute in some way, being over all those people
regularly.
So what, out of those people and stuff, do you have any example of a time that you've had to deal with workplace disputes? Or is there a generic formula that you like to use?
Sure. Friday morning.
Oh, no.
Friday morning, as I said, we have several different departments. One of the data input specialists that works with our website from one department decided that for consistency purposes, he would go into the employee directory and remove the professional qualifications of everyone in the other departments. He didn't seek my approval to do it. He didn't seek the department director's approval for any of the other departments to do it. And quite frankly, that's just a rude thing to do. So I was immediately notified, and I had to call him into my office and explain to him that there's a chain of command, and you have to abide by the chain of command. And I gave him a verbal warning that if you fail to follow the chain of command, you'll be formally reprimanded. And there's a process that we use to do that. Frequently, the process will involve our human resources department, which.
So for that, would you have to call them in to like come and examine or watch the dispute, or?
Well, we would.
How does that happen?
We would either turn the information over to them and let them investigate the nature of the problem, or in this instance, it would have been completely acceptable for me to call them and have one of them come sit in the meeting with me and observe how the meeting was handled and all that sort of thing, so that and if the meeting is with a difficult employee, then that's exactly what we do, because we want to make sure that there's a third party witness, and
Yeah.
HR is a separate department from my office, so they're an independent third party that can review situations and make independent calls as to whether something was handled properly or not, and they're very good at documenting how things were handled, so that if it has to go under further review, there's a definite record
Yeah.
that someone can rely on to review and make a determination.
And then there too, if that employee needs training, the HR will know exactly where the problem is and what needs to be retaught. And
that's an excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an excellent point. And that's a good thought process. HR works with us frequently when people do need some sort of additional training, so that and that is monitored as part of the employee evaluation process. So when the employee's evaluation comes up, the training is written into their processes of what they're required to do, and their supervisor is required to fill out all the pertinent information to make sure that they're being properly trained.
Oh. And then, what part of your job do you like doing the most? In a little harder.
It's a lot of job. I like it when a problem is resolved and everybody comes out on the other side happy with the solution. And that does happen more often than you would think.
Yeah.
Since we're a regulatory agency, we interact with the oil and gas operators. Those are the people that are drilling for oil and natural gas in the state. And as the regulatory agency, we're basically the policeman that keeps an eye on them to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Well, when they don't do what they're supposed to do, we have to intervene and issue some sort of corrective action. Personally, I like it when the problem can be resolved through education. Like perhaps they didn't know there was a rule that you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And we always try to assume that people are doing their best and trying their hardest, and we give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So
I bet that's well appreciated.
I hope so. And we also work very closely and very directly with anybody that needs it. We're not an agency that puts up barriers between ourselves and the regulated community. For example, if you go to a lot of company websites, you don't have any idea who works for the company.
Yeah.
If you go to our website, virtually every employee that works for us can be found on our website by job category and classification. So if you need a permit for injection and mining, or you have a question about a permit for injection and mining, you can go to our website, click on conservation, subcategory injection and mining, and right there it lists the staff of injection and mining. So
you can call straight to a person.
Yes, sir. Yep. You have their direct line.
Yeah.
So there's not the typical bureaucratic
red tape
call, and you get an answering machine that sends you to another answering machine that sends you to another answering machine, and you can't talk to a live person.
Or the contact message us box, and then you just type in your problem and wait for an answer.
We don't do that. Ours is direct. When you you can look up virtually anybody in the office and call them directly, including me.
That's cool, especially saying that DNR, I feel like, is pretty important to Louisiana, and oil and well stuff. That's
oil
whether or not we recognize it. That's quite a bit of our culture right there.
It absolutely is, and it's a significant amount of the budget for the state of Louisiana. The oil and gas industry supplies about $680 million directly to the state's budget.
Wow!
And through tertiary means like service companies that they work with and sales taxes and those types of things that are not directly related to the severance tax on a barrel of oil or an MCF of natural gas, they contribute about $3 billion to the state's economy. So it's not an insignificant area.
That's pretty cool.
It's substantial.
That it's substantial, but you still have a more personalized experience. It's more,
Well, we're also one of the smallest state agencies, which makes it a lot easier to do that. The bigger a company is, the more difficult it is to maintain a personal relations. Yeah. At least that's my experience.
Yeah. And then, what is the most recent thing you learned at work?
Again, since we encounter new issues and new problems every day, there's always a new regulation that I wasn't completely familiar with or completely aware of, that I had to review and educate myself on, or have my division director educate me on, so that we could make a determination as to how to help the operators implement it properly. So there's every day there's something new that comes up that we have to do a little bit of research on and figure out.
I'm guessing
how it works. Does
new law or new regulation come into play too? How often does that happen?
All the time.
Okay. So it's new and old, that it's just, you're always having to...
The state legislature meets once a year, and I can't recall in the last 12 years any time where they didn't pass at least one or more regulations, or one or more laws that affected our regulations. This year, I've already been made aware that there are a couple of bills being filed that will directly affect us.
No surprise.
On an interesting side note, as a regulatory agency, we don't get to tell the legislators how we think a law should be written. And when we go testify in front of committees, we're not allowed to say we support or we oppose anything. As regulators, they pass the laws and we enforce them, however they're written.
So in that kind of situation, is it you're brought in and you're asked questions and you just have to answer them?
Yeah, that's correct. But we are there for information only, not to take a side.
Gotcha. Oh, but always learning new things, which that kind of doesn't surprise me.
Well, it would be nice to, and let me take a step back and say, virtually most of the employees in our office have some sort of professional degree, either a geological degree, an engineering degree of one sort or another. We have a lot of petroleum engineers. We have a lot of environmental engineers. We have a lot of highly educated people in our office. So it's good to reach a certain level of expertise where they have mastered the area in which they're practicing. And once you reach a certain level of mastery, then there shouldn't be a whole lot of new things for you to learn. And we have a lot of people that have reached the level of mastery for their position, so there shouldn't be a lot of new things for them to learn. But when you look at it, the whole picture overall, there's always going to be technology continues to advance. Better techniques for doing one thing or another are developed. Here's an example that we're actually trying to get changed at the legislature right now, which of course we can't do directly. We just have to ask somebody to aid us, and hopefully they'll move it forward. We have a finite list of contractors that bid on projects to plug abandoned oil and gas wells. Yet under the state bid law, we're required to advertise these bid projects in the newspaper of both the parish and the overall newspaper for the state, so that
anyone could come in and do it, technically? Or anyone could see it.
Anyone could see it.
And get interested.
And the theory is that anyone would be able to come in and bid. But since it's a finite list, and of course these rules were passed before the invention of email.
Yeah.
So it was a little while back.
So you're like, I got the list right here, the people that really care and are interested.
Well, it's not even the people that really care. It's the only people that are allowed to bid.
Yeah.
So if they're the only people allowed to bid, wouldn't it make more sense to just send the notifications to those people? And the answer is yes, that makes a lot of sense. But again, we can only do what the law allows us to do. And right now the law requires us to publish notice in the local parish.
Yeah. That's interesting, though. So is there any place in y'all's office where you can make those kind of suggestions of, look, I'm the one who lives through this and experiences this, and I have this feedback?
We have a public information officer and some legislative liaisons that can reach out to legislators and suggest that this is an issue that could be addressed.
Yeah.
But it's up to them to pick up the ball and run with it.
Got you. And it's also, unless there's some direct flaw or some way it's really harming, there might not be influence to do it.
If there is something that's truly creating a problem, there's a much better chance that a legislator will pick up the ball and run with it.
Yeah.
But there's still no guarantee.
Or a slight flaw. Okay. And then for our last question, how do you see yourself ending out your career?
Wow.
Do you see it in this job?
Yes. This will probably be my final job before I retire. That's a very good question. I worked in private industry for probably 20 years before going to work for the state. So generally in private industry, you're responsible for your own retirement, which means you have to put your own money in investments or that sort of thing to try to plan for the future. I did that. Then when I went to work for the state has a pension plan, which means after a certain number of years when you retire, they will continue to pay you a portion of your salary. So between the two things, my retirement income stream should be sufficient for me to maintain my current lifestyle, which may not say a whole lot since I drive a Versa, but
happy nonetheless.
Absolutely. But this will probably be, when I leave this job, it'll probably be the last
Do you know
official
around
job that I have.
what time you'd want to leave it? Or is that just kind of whenever you're done with it?
When it's not fun anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that answer. Okay. I think we are done here. Thank you so much for your answers. So for this interview, what is going to happen with it is I'm going to take this video recording that we have made, and it will be posted to YouTube for a grade. It's at the internet. And then, of course, if you'd like, once the grade has been graded, we can take it off. But that will be the next step, and I think I've gotten everything I needed.
All right.
Thank you so much, and I will definitely be sure to follow up if I have any more questions.
Please do.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you.